from the Hummus and Pita Company and get yours before they're gone.
That feels really good. Like walk-off home run in the ninth inning kind of good. Okay, maybe not that good, but pretty darn good. With Straight Talk, you can get 25 gigs of high-speed data for $45 a month, up to 50% less than the other guys. Plus, no contract. All on America's best networks. Why pay a whole lot when you could pay half? Straight Talk Wireless. No contract.
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama.
Alabama!
Your home of the Crimson Tide Sports Network.
Got a wreck southbound on Moore's Mill near Winchester. That one's coming in as a no injury, but it's got some road blockage. And we've had problems out on 565 around Greenbrier, east and westbound. That area seems to be improving. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. If you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
In the WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Really is going to be a beautiful Wednesday across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Low humidity, plenty of sunshine, and temperatures hanging out in the low and mid-80s, dropping into the lower 60s as we head into the overnight. Thursday is essentially going to be a repeat. Mostly sunny skies, low humidity, temperatures in the mid and upper 80s, dropping into the lower 60s through the overnight. It's going to feel a little more humid on Friday. Still plenty of sunshine, temperatures hanging out in the upper 80s and lower 90s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This Action Update is brought to you by Keeps. Tired of losing your hair? Get 50% off for your first order at Keeps.com/VSiN. Keeps.com/VSiN.
Baseball, the Braves and Red Sox again tonight. Atlanta falling in Game 1 Tuesday, 10-8. They come into tonight once again a moneyline favorite, -155. Boston at +135. Over under 9. Ian Anderson getting the start for the Braves against Garrett Richards for the Sox. NBA tonight, Game 5 between the Hawks and Sixers in Philadelphia. Sixers a 6-point home favorite. The over under 223.5. Later, the Clippers and the Jazz. Game 5 in the West semis. Jazz a 2.5-point home favorite. 222 total. NHL, the Golden Knights and Canadiens in Game 2 of the semifinal series. Vegas leading the series 1-0. -255 on the money line. Montreal +215. The over under 5.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 977ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin Ball with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
And just like that, we're off and running. It is another brand new live edition of Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone with Scott Theisen and Drew DeArmond. Welcome into our Wednesday edition. We have made it to the halfway point of the week, and we thank you for waking up with us. Safe travels wherever you may be headed on this Wednesday edition of Talking Ball. Hey, 256-576-4977. That is the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. We welcome your phone calls, your opinions this morning on everything that we've got going on and then some. We've got a lot of great stuff to get to today on the show. We didn't get to it yesterday, so we're going to get to it today. And 24/7 Sports has said, okay, guys, these are the 10 most hostile college and football environments for 2021. These are the top 10 stadiums, the top 10 most hostile environments for college football. We'll go over the 10. And then we're going to ask you who should have made the list. And we'll ask you, of the 10, who doesn't need to be on the top 10? We're going to check in with Cam Newton. He speaks for the first time on his time in New England, his thoughts on Mac Jones. Tough news for Alabama basketball. Just how long does the school think James Rojas will be out? They put a timetable on it yesterday. More and more college football programs announcing stadiums are going to be at full capacity. That is the good news, especially for some SEC teams that are traveling out west. LSU will travel to UCLA, so good news there. Yesterday, we went over the toughest schedules in the SEC. Today, we tell you their final records in 2021. So there's no need to play the games in the fall, because we're going to tell you the final records of the SEC teams today, so there's no need to play any of the games. We're going to tell you how everybody's going to finish, and we'll just slot everybody into bowl games, and we'll go from there. So it's the way too early records for SEC teams. Major League Baseball apparently has a problem with its pitchers using sticky stuffs on the baseballs. Plus, the Atlanta Braves stumbled last night. So we'll talk some Major League Baseball. And just how much money will conferences net from an expanded playoff run? Because remember, this week, the college football commissioners are going to gather in Chicago. And they're going to go over and revise again this 12-team playoff. They're going to do that this week in Chicago because, let's see here, later in the month, I want to say June 22nd. Yes, June 22nd, they will make their presentation to the Board of Presidents and Chancellors in Dallas. That'll be in June. That'll be on the 22nd. So that is next week. They will make that presentation in Dallas next Tuesday. But this week they're meeting in Chicago to go over the 12-team playoff format. That is all the FBS commissioners, which includes Notre Dame's Jack Swarbrick. So Greg Sankey will be in Chicago, probably already there, getting ready to go over that 12-team format. But we'll talk about the money, because everybody wants to talk about the money. And indeed, there will be a lot of dollars up for grabs when it comes to this 12-team playoff, and just how much will the conferences make, and how much do they anticipate each school getting. And let me tell you, the rich will get richer, a whole lot richer, with these 12-team playoffs. But anyway, we didn't get to this yesterday, and this is just a fun way to get things going. Now, coming up later in the show, Josh Pate will join us. And so we're going to kind of set the stage here in the first 20 minutes to get ready for Josh Pate. But the top 10 most hostile football environments in 2021. And number 10 on the list, Drew, the Gaylord family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium in Oklahoma. That's number 10 on the most hostile football environments in 2021. Number 9, Camp Randall Stadium in Wisconsin. That's number 9 on the list. Number 8, Autzen Stadium, Oregon. Okay, that's good. Number 7, Sanford Stadium, the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 6, Memorial Stadium, Clemson Tigers. Number 5, Ohio Stadium, Ohio State. Number 4, Ben Hill Griffin, Florida. Number 3, Kyle Field, Texas A&M. Number 2, Beaver Stadium, Penn State. And the number 1 most hostile environment for college football in 2021, Tiger Stadium, LSU.
Well, I can understand LSU, no doubt. I don't understand why Alabama or Auburn is not on the list. I know there are times that people say Bryant Denny's not loud, but for a big game, I think he's as loud as any. And when you look at Alabama's home record, I know Nick Saban has actually probably, he's lost so few, but if you look at it, he's probably lost more home games than he has road as far as a big game goes. But still, the record speaks for itself. It's still an amazing winning percentage. especially out of conference. They've really handled business no matter who they've played when they've had a chance to play them inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. And then at Auburn, their big game home record, that's the reason Gus Malzahn stayed head coach for nearly a decade, is because he beat Alabama, he beat Georgia consistently inside Jordan-Hare Stadium, and when that place is rocking and packed, it's as raucous as any. I mean, personally, I've never found Texas A&M very intimidating. I mean, Alabama's burned it to the ground several times. I mean, and then whipped Texas A&M solidly by double digits. So, and I know Texas A&M has beaten LSU and things of that nature, but did they not lose to Florida inside? Well, that's right. That was another choke job.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of players.
Florida blew that game. Should have won in Kyle Field, but did not.
There's been several players, though, that have come out and said, hey, look, the environment at Kyle Field at Texas A&M, yes, they have 100 and some thousand people in there,
and they're
but it's not intimidating, though. They've come out, visiting players have come out and said it's not that intimidating going to Kyle Field.
That one I don't understand. I really don't. I mean, because when you look at it, last year's the first time Texas A&M's finished second in the West. I mean, it's not like they've made a ton of runs and everything. So, I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, it's a great place. They have fans that
they're great places, but I don't know if they're the most intimidating places. But I'm just talking
about being loud, being raucous. Seismograph. I mean, everybody understands that about Tiger Stadium. Though Alabama owns the place, still, I mean, Tiger Stadium is loud. It's crazy. I mean, they've got a tremendous home record there. Alabama's the only one that seems to have the voodoo or whatever over the years to win in Tiger Stadium. But so I understand why it's number one. But again, it's all subjective. But this is a couple of those are head scratching.
All right, 256-576-4977. Let's go to Shane on the Neighbors Wealth Management hotline out of the gates this morning. Good morning, Shane.
What up, Shane?
Hey, good morning, fellas. So, so how in the hell do you put Oregon, Ohio State, or even Penn State, and not put Alabama, Auburn, and Williams-Brice Stadium, South Carolina? That's one of the craziest places to play. I mean, I know we're no good, but, I mean, hell, the fans still come out and raise Cain.
Well, I mean, that is true because in Lou Holtz's first season many years ago, they went 0-11, but they didn't win a game. But I think they sold out every game. So they do have a passionate fan base. That's probably part of it about the South Carolina not winning football games right now. But of course, Alabama's winning at the highest level, and they didn't put Alabama on the poll. So it's kind of interesting how they evaluated all that.
Exactly. I mean, and I understand. I agree with that. But, I mean, you guys have all watched, the beginning of a South Carolina game. I mean, when they're playing Sandstorm and, everyone's waving the towels, it raises the hair on my arms. Even if I weren't a South Carolina fan, I'd still feel the same way.
Right. That's like Virginia Tech, though, too. Inner Sandman and stuff.
And they weren't on the list.
They weren't on the list either. That is probably one of the most intimidating, there's several, but that Virginia Tech entrance is one of the most intimidating ones in college football.
Lane Stadium.
Yeah, this list is just about as bad as the top 10 college football players of all time. We're really from 1980. I mean, come on, man. These guys got to pull their heads out of their rear ends and actually start looking at this stuff before they speak and write it down,
Yeah.
True that.
All right, fellas. That's all I wanted to complain about. You guys have a good day.
All right, thanks. All right, let's go to Spencer next on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Good morning, Spencer.
Good to hear from you again, Spencer. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Y'all doing all right today?
Yes,
doing
sir.
good.
You're doing well.
So I was amazed that I haven't heard from Wolverine Dan. I figured he'd be bitching and complaining about wanting the big house on that list.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to win a few.
We don't really even know what the criteria was.
Yeah,
so I mean, but you're right. They're 100,000+, and but certainly Ohio State's made themselves at home.
Well, I remember when I was growing up, my granddad used to say that one of the places that he hated going more than anywhere else was Neyland Stadium in Knoxville. He said they had you packed in there like sardines. I mean, you had to stand, basically sideways, couldn't sit down. He said it was absolute miserable. There were fights all the time, but, you won't see that. They can't even pack the stadium now.
And that may be one reason they're not on there. I mean, because they have a passionate fan base as well, but they haven't had a lot of success relative in the last 15 years to what you're used to seeing.
Yeah, amen to that. But hey, I'm not upset that Alabama's not on that list, man. I mean, I'll be honest with you, dude. I mean, I heard Alabama a lot louder in the mid 2000s when they had Tyrone Prothro and they beat Florida, and Florida came in as the number 3 team. They were a lot louder that year than the fan base has been over the last 5 or 6 years, and I think it has a little bit to do with complacency, has a little bit to do with the cost of admission. I mean, you can't get the true diehard fans in there nowadays because it's costing you an arm and a leg just to go see it. I mean, I'm not a real big fan of them constantly raising the prices just because they can, because people will pay it. I'm not a big fan of that, to be honest with you, man. But hey, it is what it is, and it'll eventually come and bite us in the ass, and we won't have as many people in there, and we won't have as many passionate people in there. And as soon as we start losing, guess what? They ain't coming back.
Interesting point. That is interesting, though, Drew. I mean, ticket prices are getting higher. That there is no question about that. But does that take away? Well, I mean, does it take away from the pure passionate fan?
The Big 12 commissioner Bob Bowlesby was even quoted in the last few days about the college football playoff. Someone asked him, with it expanding, there'll be certain fans that want to wait and see if their team goes to the national championship game and go to that game and not go to the quarterfinals and the semifinals. And he said, well, they can just watch it on television, which is, I don't think, really what they wanted him to say. I mean, but he basically laid it out there because it is very expensive. Spencer's right. I mean, and he wasn't even talking about playoffs.
General season game. Yeah, he wasn't talking about regular season games.
He was just talking about going during a regular season game during the season. And so that's rough because it does cost a lot of money. You're talking about parking, you're talking about tickets, you're talking about food, gas to get there and back in certain situations. Yeah, exactly. If you decide to stay overnight, so it's definitely cost a lot of money. No question about that.
Oh, it's absolutely unbelievable how much it costs nowadays. I mean, you want to go to a playoff game, you want to go to the semifinal game last year. It'd cost you $375 to get a ticket to the final game, and that is if you are a season ticket holder, and that's ticketed price. I mean, you got to be kidding me, man. I mean, come on, what's the markup on that going to be once it goes to the secondary market? I mean, you can't get the regular guys in there, dude. It's way too expensive, and with the quality of television broadcast nowadays, why wouldn't you want to sit at home in the comfort of your armchair watching the ball game?
Spencer, thanks for the call, bud.
Good point.
All right.
Yeah, those are all good points there by Spencer. All right, let's go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Jeff from the Borough with us this morning. Good morning, Jeff.
How's it going, guys? I guess it's kind of like that Dan Morgan and Steve McNair. Kind of like those two. I guess they weren't great ball players either.
Oh, they weren't one of the top 10 greatest players of all time in college football.
Players, Jeff, but we're talking top 10 all time, brother.
Well, you asked the Tennessee Titans fans down here. Steve McNair is pretty doggone good.
Well, no, he was great. But is Steve McNair one of the 10 best all-time college football players?
Well, I don't know, but I mean...
Archie Griffin wasn't on that list, and he won 2 Heismans.
Anniversary of his death coming up pretty soon, so... he died pretty tragically. He was pretty good ball player in college. I don't know about top 10 all time. But like you guys said, it's subjective. So somebody else can come out and say such and such is a great player. I mean, somebody else can come out and say Jerry Rice is one of the greatest 10 greatest receivers of all time. And he went to a play school. He went to Mississippi Valley State. So what's that? I mean, and all that kind of thing. But that's just the way. It's just all subjective. I mean, it's somebody's opinion, like you guys said. But it's just the way that it goes. But no, I went back and listened to some of that Stoop stuff yesterday, and I'd say some of it's pretty good. But saying he's never going to win the East and he'll be a pain in the ass. See, those are the things that I don't want him to listen to, or anybody in the athletic department at Kentucky listen to. Nothing. I don't ever want him to listen to that. If you say that every year to him, then he might as well not even attempt it. He might as well not even be a coach. You're going to tell him that. You see, that's the thing. That's the thing about it. And also, just mentioning baseball a little bit. Down here, there's a guy there's a talk show there. He's a big Braves fan, and now he's blaming now ownership for the Braves deal. Okay, give me a break. Okay, you got the worst GM in the big leagues. Okay, I mean y'all ain't got no talent. I mean you couldn't even. I mean, their bullpen or starters couldn't get me, you, Scott, Drew, me, and Randy and Spencer out. They're awful. Okay, I'm a Cubs fan. They ain't played good in the last 2 nights. Now their starting pitch is not very good. Their bullpen is really good. They can't hit right now. The Mets are playing real good. They got great pitching. DeGrom's probably going to win the MVP right now if you stop the season. Maybe the Cy Young. That guy's just pitching out of his mind. But I know you guys are big Braves fans. I know Drew's real disappointed in the Braves. He probably don't even want to talk about them, I'd say. Is that right, Drew?
Well, I mean, the Braves have been a disappointment, but I still think they're talented. I still think it's a long process because it's a long season, Jeff. You got to understand they got to get Soroka back. If they got him back, I think it would make a huge difference when he's healthy. Fried has started to come around a little bit. They certainly this last couple weeks they've had a rough patch, no doubt about it. But they've got to get healthier, no doubt. And then they really probably need to make a trade for a bat, probably an outfielder. We'll see what Alex Anthopoulos does. I do think Anthopoulos made some mistakes with the bullpen. He didn't bring Melanson back, which I think was a mistake. I think if he was I thought more consistent than Will Smith on the back end of the bullpen last year. Of course, it was just a 60-game run, but he did a good job the year before as well when they made that deal. So I think that they've had some unfortunate injuries with the pitching rotation. I think with Soroka going down, with Fried going down earlier this year, he hasn't been able to get consistent. But I still think they've got a chance. I mean, certainly they're 5.5, 6.5 out. The Mets are playing well. But a few years ago when the Washington Nationals won the World Series, their first 2.5, 3 months was underwhelming, and then they got hot.
True, that's true. That's true. That's true. They did. But I'm just saying, people want to blame everything. I mean, when are they going to get healthy? When's Soroka coming back? When's he gonna come back?
That's a great question. I can't predict the future, but certainly in these situations you don't want to rush him, and it's not uncommon to have setbacks.
I agree, but he's just like I was watching the Cubs and Cardinals this weekend. Just like the announcer said, the Ross, their manager, he don't need to go out and tell Brian Rizzo, rest these players they're good. They already know it. They know they're good. They don't have to be told. They got to get Patrick Wisdom. I don't even heard of him. He's hit home runs at the wazoo. When you have injuries, Drew, please don't blame injuries on this stuff. It's called depth. It's called next man up. The Braves are supposed to have themselves a farm system of pitching all over the place, and they can't get no pitching. Come on. It's called farm system. And the Cubs farm system is about one of the worst. It's worse than the big leagues. I'll give you that. But the Braves are supposed to be pitching rich. They're supposed to be have the last, the next coming of Wazoo. When Bobby Cox and what's his name, that shoeholes was manager GM up there. Bobby Cox is in the Hall of Fame. Don't ask me why he's in there. Because if it was up to me, the only way he's getting the Hall of Fame is to pay double to get in. He wouldn't even see it. If he had managed the Yankees and won all the division titles in a row and only won one world title, his butt would have been fired. They wouldn't put up with that. They're not going to put up with winning divisions and not winning World Series. And you should know that as far as that goes. But I'll say this: you talk about hostile places to win. One of the least hostile places to win is Truist Park in Atlanta.
Well, one of the least most hostile places is Kroger Field.
Well, it might be. You might be right there. That's not. I'm not ranting you there. But I'll say this: if you guys don't think that what you call it, that Kentucky's ever going in the East, I'll say you this: I'll say the Kentucky will win the East in basketball before before Alabama makes a Final Four or a natty in basketball. And I just want to say one final thing.
Well, there is no East in basketball, so we don't have to worry about that.
One final thing I'll say this is a basketball note. I know y'all ain't seen this because y'all ain't on top basketball right now. But John Calipari is going to be on the UMass basketball Mount Rushmore. It's going to be him, Canby, Dr. J, Julius Irving, and one of their other coaches. They coached Irving in the 70s. So we want Nate Oates to be on the basketball Mount Rushmore of Alabama.
Well, I don't know. Can they use?
Let's see. That'll take a while. But I say there's one guy on the basketball Mount Rushmore at Alabama is C.M. Newton. Where did he come from? Kentucky. Bear Bryant hired him in the 60s. He saved y'all's basketball program. So don't even go there. So y'all have a good day. Hang in there. The Braves might win a Southern League championship if they can get some pitching. See y'all.
Well, the Braves don't play in the Southern League, so I don't got to worry about that. And can UMass even claim Calipari? I mean, are they?
They can claim him. That's
okay.
Fine. I mean, I like I say, we need to go on a break. Josh Pate, 24/7 Sports Director Video. We're going to actually talk about something relevant and not something stupid like we just heard from Jeff from the Borough when he was trying to say that Kentucky would win the East in football, not basketball, you clown.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Trying to clear a couple of wrecks now. We had one southbound on Moores Mill near Winchester. Nobody hurt there. Another one on Zert Road at Town Madison. That was a vehicle off the road up against the Arsenal fence. When HPD got there was nobody with the vehicle, so they canceled IMSI. Popeye's 3-piece snack is only $4.99. You get 3 pieces of that crispy tender chicken and a buttermilk biscuit. Popeye's University in Jordan, 72 in Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football tradition, always there, Woody Anderson Ford.
When I chose a garage door company, I did my homework. I needed Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. They have a 5-star Google rating. I checked their reviews and liked what their customers had to say. Precision Overhead Garage Door has lifetime warranty packages. Same-day service if I call before 2 p.m. If they can't make it the same day, my service call fee the next day is waived. They did a 25-point safety inspection on the door and operator. Now that's peace of mind. Residential, commercial, and gate services. Precision Overhead Garage Door Service. Call 256-400-4500.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Hey, this is Justin with the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill. We'd like to invite you to North Alabama's premier patio bar and grill, where at the factory, we have something going on each and every night. Monday night, steak night. Tuesday night, karaoke. Wednesday night, the Jeep community comes out for Jeep Jam. Thursday, it's bike night, the biggest in the valley. Friday and Saturday, live concerts on our 4,000 square foot patio, along with drink specials and a beautiful staff. What are you waiting on? We will see you at the Furniture Factory Bar and Grill.
This is Steve Moulton from The Drive. Join us this afternoon from 5 to 7 with Wes Neighbors and me. Now back to Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
All right, welcome back to Talking Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Let's get into some really intelligent conversation talk here now And that is some college football news. Obviously, Drew, the college football playoffs from 4 to 12 taking center stage. They're going to be in Chicago this week. The commissioners, they're going to discuss this. Next week on Tuesday, they're going to be in Dallas. They're going to make their presentation. And there's still a lot to unwrap, to unfold, to kind of digest on this move.
Well, there is. There's a lot to continue to monitor and to follow, because we know that things are going to change, no doubt about that. And then there's our next guest always has the interesting takes. And when you hear his late kick cut, and his YouTube channel, of course, is must see. He's the director of video and digital content for 24/7 Sports. He's been a frequent guest on the show, and I was kind of half joking with him that I hated having to miss his last appearance. I was on assignment out of town.
Yeah.
But now getting him back, and he had a really interesting take, and it kind of piggybacks on something we've said on the show this week, Scott, about the Pac-12, and then what is their long-term future. And, of course, we're talking about Josh Pate from 24/7 Sports, who's been good enough to join us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Josh, you're with Drew and Scott in Huntsville. How are you doing, man? Good morning.
Well, intimidated now that you just teased that we're about to have intelligent football conversation. No one ever said the word intelligent to me. You guys want to talk? We can talk. Interesting, I may be able to do, but don't you think intelligence is just a little bit of a stretch this early in the morning for me?
Nah, not at all, man.
No, and a lot of that has to do with the previous caller that we had, and so we can only go nowhere from up on the show.
Yeah,
so
Jeff can make your ears bleed.
Yeah, so we're only going up from here. So no, it's not a stretch.
Yeah, we're good.
Well, it's good to hear my burners calling in right before me. That's the way. That's the secret of making yourself look good. Really.
Well, it's great to have you back, bro. And like I say, it's always a good conversation. And I wanted to go back and talk about your point and the point is with some of these Group of 5 schools and the AAC and the opportunity that a guy like Gus Malzahn has at Central Florida, like we've seen with some of these Group of 5s, like a Boise State. I know they're not in the AAC per se, but just talk about your thoughts on that, because I do think the Pac-12 is still in trouble because the level of football has not been good. They've got some transition going on with a new commissioner. But talk about the opportunity now with this new playoff. Scott's already talking about it. They're going to meet in Chicago this week to continue to develop their plan. But it's you had an interesting thought on that this week.
Yeah, I think it's really important to break down what this does for a conference. I know in the past we've had these blips on the radar, and that's exactly what they were to me. Boise against Oklahoma, Utah against Alabama when they were in the Mountain West. That kind of stuff it's a fun story. If you're not a fan of the bigger program, it's a fun story. But that's a blip on the radar screen. That has nothing to do with anything that is a systemic or tectonic shift in the sport. That was just a one-time deal. Now what we have, if this all goes through, which we just assume it will, what we have, I want you to think about this, or if you're a listener, I want you to think about this. What has always held a conference, let's say like the AAC, what holds them out? I know we say Power 5 and G5, but really what separates those groups, as you guys well know, it's just money. It's not like there's a magical fence that's between the two, and it's like the way you separate neighborhoods. We're just talking about money. And Power 5 just means you have better TV deals. So right now, we have that structure in place. And already within that structure, we have a big gap. You just talked about the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is miles and miles and miles, revenue-wise, behind the likes of the Big Ten and the SEC. But what we're going to do now is, again, if this all is to be assumed to go through, what we're going to have is a guaranteed spot for one G5 team, and you may have multiple G5 teams in this thing in any given year. But more importantly, what it does, depending on how they handle this revenue share with inevitably a new TV deal that will be struck, is you're going to have finally legitimate playoff share money going to a conference like the AAC, because that's the conference I would assume is going to disproportionately benefit from this from the G5 level. You're going to have playoff money and bigger TV revenue share money, because none of these guys would have signed off on this if that wasn't one of the prerequisites. So then all of a sudden, a conference that's already been very much on the come up, you're all of a sudden going to pump a whole lot more money into a conference and allow a conference with programs in Dallas, Texas, and Houston, Texas, and Memphis, Tennessee, and Greenville, South Carolina, and Orlando, Florida, and Tampa, Florida, to invest in football. Cincinnati, Ohio, to invest in football like they haven't been able to before. And what that does to me long term, this isn't a 2 or 3 year thing, but long term, what it starts to do is that high 3-star and low 4-star talent that just couldn't get the Georgia, Alabama, LSU offer that used to leave here and still does leave here in a lot of cases to go to the Big Ten, to go to the northern programs in the ACC, to go to the Big 12. They ain't leaving home anymore. They don't have to. It's not access to the playoffs that these players want. It's access to premier development. When you can get the playoff money and then you can invest in the developmental aspect and have the best facilities and be on par developmentally with those other Power Fives, talent's not leaving home anymore. The AAC, over the decade to come after this is implemented, should rapidly ascend into what we now call Power 5 status. I'm just wondering if it comes at the expense of 1 or 2 other Power 5 conferences.
And I've said the same thing for coaches as well. Luke Fickell's name was mentioned ad nauseum for quote-unquote Power 5 jobs at the end of this year and leaving Cincinnati, going on to a bigger program so he can make it to the playoffs. If Cincinnati and the AAC make it to the playoffs, 2 out of 3 years, or they start becoming a regular factor in this, they start getting some of that money. Coaches are not going to be making that next leap. A guy like Luke Fickell would be content to stay at Cincinnati because, one, they're going to increase their revenue. They can increase his salary. He's going to get facilities. And why not get to the playoffs every year if you can?
Scott, I don't even think you need to speak of it in future tense. I think that's already here. I think we've seen it with him. I think how many SEC jobs has Billy Napier, either publicly or behind the scenes, turned down? And that would be ludicrous. It'd be, well, to some people, it's still ludicrous, but imagine saying that 15 years ago. Imagine saying the head coach at what you would call Louisiana Lafayette is going to say thanks but no thanks to, programs like South Carolina or Ole Miss. But what's happening, and the key name to remember here is Chad Morris. Because what happened in that world, in the coaching world and in the agent world, is they watched Chad Morris be a hotshot coordinator at Clemson, and he gets his shot at SMU. Does some pretty good things there, and he came running at the first Power 5 offer. And that's a good offer, big offer from Arkansas. But he went there, and he failed because he was probably in a no-win situation to begin with, in the same division as the likes of Nick Saban, given the expectation level at Arkansas. And he gets fired. I don't know if people know where he is now, but he's coaching high school football in Texas.
Allen, Texas, that's right.
Yeah, a lot of folks have looked at that, and they said, in retrospect, why don't you just hang out at that G5 outpost? You're making good money, and you're so safe. If you're Billy Napier, think about the reward versus risk proposition being at Louisiana or Fickell, or if you're Malzahn in a few years. You can make good money there. You don't have to take the first Power 5 job that comes open anymore, because the other reality is a Ryan Day or a Kirby Smart or a Lincoln Riley has shown you your first job can be, even as a coordinator, your first job at the Power 5 level could be a premier job. So if you're already a head coach, certainly you can sit there and wait around. There's no risk in hanging out at the G5 level and waiting and only leaving if the most opportune job possible at the Power 5 level comes open. That's what all of those agents are telling those coaches now. And they're saying, if you feel otherwise, just remember what happened to Chad Morris.
Yeah, and we're talking to Josh Pate, Director of Video and Digital Content for 24/7 Sports. Josh, I also agree with your take as well, and it piggybacks off of your point. I saw that game last year when you saw the opener with Matt Campbell and Iowa State against Louisiana and Billy Napier. Louisiana won that game and won it handily, and it wasn't a fluke. And we see how good Iowa State was. They go on to reach the Big 12 championship game, and a lot of people have them in the top 10 in the country to start this year. led by his senior quarterback Brock Purdy. But that just shows you the quality of football that's in the group of 5 at certain programs.
That's it. And the sticker on the helmet, one of them says Big 12, one of them says Sun Belt. That still means something to most of us who have watched the sport for a long time, and it's hard to shake that. And so it jogs your mind when you watch a Sun Belt sticker go into a Big 12 sticker stadium and win, especially like you said. This wasn't like Coastal Carolina over Kansas. Iowa State went on to win the Fiesta Bowl last year.
Yeah.
And Louisiana went in there, and the takeaway, I remember talking to you guys about it, the takeaway wasn't, oh my goodness, an upset happened, because that can happen occasionally. It was, if we were to have switched the jerseys on these teams, Louisiana absolutely looked like the Power 5 caliber team. They looked more impressive, and it's already something that's begun to happen. You don't need to have a new playoff format to see that the infusion of TV contracts in this sport and the ability to be on TV 9 times a year, even in the Sun Belt, has already gone a long way in keeping local talent home. And then you got a really good guy at developing them down there in Billy Napier. I just want people to realize, and I'm not talking necessarily to folks in Alabama. I've been trying to talk to folks in portions of the Midwest and portions out west and maybe in the eastern seaboard up north. You're not going to get a lot of talent out of the South anymore once you have not only the SEC to deal with down here, but also the Sun Belt and the what is it? Yeah, how many A's? AAC to deal with. They're not leaving home anymore. If you have no reason to leave, why in the world would you leave?
We know the SEC is going to be fine. The ACC, the Big Ten, they're going to get teams in this. I mean, that's a foregone conclusion, and we could see multiple SEC teams make it, or Big Ten or ACC some years. What pressure does this do to the Pac-12 though? Because with the AAC kind of really making headway, and that's the conference everybody's talking about. We're not talking about the Pac-12, and they would have gotten left out of the cold still last year had they still had a 12-team format.
I worry about it, and I guess that sounds kind of weird. I would love this perfect world to exist where, coast to coast, we got powerhouse programs all over the place. Now, what I'm not a believer in is trying to reverse engineer the sport to make up for ineptitude at the level of commissioner and head coach, and that's why I think a lot of these programs are struggling right now. So, in other words, it's not the rest of the sport's fault that you guys have made terrible decisions on the West Coast and all your talent left because they didn't want to hang out and be part of 7 and 5 programs. I think it's a really big deal. They made the commissioner change out there, and I do not believe that a whole lot of people have well-informed opinions on how that's going to go. He worked in the entertainment industry. Well, okay. What does that really mean to me? What does it mean to you? I don't think it means a whole lot right now. We'll see. I'm pulling for him, but you try and put this together, and you try and ask yourself, what about this new format increases the likelihood that better quality of football is played out west? There's this thought that I simply don't believe in, but there's this thought out there that, well, if you spread the playoff field and you give maybe a couple of more Pac-12 teams an outside shot of locking down a 9 seed in any given year, that'll make recruits want to go there more. This entire notion that selling recruits on the idea that, hey, we can make the playoff now is going to be a huge sea change in the world of recruiting, I think is a total myth, because I talk to them all the time, and I've yet to have a kid tell me, I'm going to fill-in-the-blank university to make the playoff. They may talk about championships, but you guys know this. They talk about what best facilitates my opportunity to maximize my potential. In a lot of cases, that's the NFL. You're not going to Oregon State because they popped a 10 seed one year if there's nothing really different about the program.
Yeah, I completely agree there. So I think the Pac-12 has got a long way to go right now. They've got some hills to climb, and I think, also, I think the AAC is in a position that they ought to be just sort of laying in the weeds and be really excited, as you said, kind of just sort of wringing their hands a little bit in anticipation because, like you said, the biggest thing that I take from what you talked about earlier in the segment, Josh, is and you're talking about recruiting territories, but these are also some nice TV markets in the TV deal and the money that's going to come out of the playoff. That's the biggest key for the rise of someone like the AAC. And do you think I know we talked about the Pac-12 is in a tenuous position, but is there a chance that we're going to have a Power 6 now in your mind with the AAC, or is it more likely that the Pac-12 falls back and we end up with just a Power 5 still with the Pac-12 struggling so much?
Well, it's a really good question. I think it's one of those. It's like forecasting. There are 47 different variables going into trying to make a forecast.
Yeah, we're making you a weatherman here a little bit.
Yeah. So this day next week, we got a high pressure system off Bermuda, but then we got an impending low in the Midwest. What you have to think about is, would the Pac-12 just sit idly by and watch that happen? Because if it's happening to the Pac-12, the same dynamics are in play for the Big 12. Now, the Big 12 has Oklahoma there right now. It's kind of like Clemson in the ACC. If you got one powerhouse, it bails the rest of your conference out in public perception. But the reality is the Big 12 is not in an infinitely greater position than the Pac-12 is. You look at a lot of the metrics, it's not there. It's just that Oklahoma has masked a lot of it. Well, what you think about to me is not, is there going to be a Power 6, Power 5, Power 4? I think about, is the Pac-12 really going to sit back and watch the rest of the sport distance itself from them? Because if it's happening to them, it's happening to Big 12. And that whole notion of a super conference, that whole conference realignment conversation, I expect that to kick up again next. Now that we got playoff expansion conversations, those two have got to figure something out. That's been my theory for several years. It may not be all of them get together, but the best of the best from both conferences, relatively speaking, they're going to have to figure something out because they cannot afford to choke on dust all that much longer.
No, they can't. Well, Josh Pate, great stuff as always from 24/7 Sports Director of Video Content, and you can his Instagram page also check that out. As we said, host of the Late Kick Cut on YouTube, and also catch his daily podcast, the Late Kick Podcast. But, man, we really appreciate the time, man, and let everybody know what you got coming up, because I know every day college football never stops for you, man.
It's really been a beautiful thing to watch how, we started saying I'm going to whisper the word, off-season. We started saying that a few months ago. Well, there hasn't been one. A lot of people have begrudgingly had to accept that in my world because they want to be at the beach every weekend. But we have been we've been doing some really good stuff over on the 24/7 Sports YouTube channel, and it's basically, the way I frame it is, if you get tired of people kind of shaming you for being overly passionate about college football in other places, and you don't get the coverage you want in other places, you'll feel at home there, and you'll feel at home with the stuff we do on Late Kick. So it's really fun. I had a blast doing it. I think we're going to have the best season of college football this coming fall that we can remember in any of our lifetimes.
Well, we certainly hope so. Thanks, man. We look forward to catching up soon.
All right, thanks, guys.
Josh Pate with us. Great stuff there. Let's get our break in. When we come back, we're going to wrap up hour one. Get back to your phone calls as well. 256-576-4977.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
It's got a new accident eastbound 565 right about Greenbrier. This one's got 3 vehicles involved. I think it's going to turn out to be a no injury. Clearing wrecks on Zert Road at Town Madison and southbound on Moores Mill at Winchester. Do your methods to lose weight no longer work for you? Odds are your hormones are the problem. Find out with a free quiz at 2030huntsville.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
You've got to experience Toyotathon at Bill Penny Toyota. They've got the selection with over 700 new Toyotas to choose from. And they've got the extras with Bill Penny perks and a 10-year unlimited warranty. So get on over to Bill Penny Toyota today and experience Toyotathon. Bill Penny Toyota in Huntsville and online at BillPennyToyota.com. Bill Penny's Toyota 10-year unlimited warranty is valid through the 10th year of ownership. Valid on new vehicles only. See dealer for details.
I'm attorney Gary Lackey. You know, you'll hear people say we're like a family, but here at the Lackey Law Firm, that's really true, not just a saying.
I'm Justin Lackey. With my father and my sister, we have a special connection to each other.
I'm Jennifer Lackey. At the Lackey Law Firm, when we take on your case, you become part of our family. You really do.
And we'll always do whatever it takes to get everything you deserve.
If you're injured, you worry about getting well, not about paperwork or insurance companies or figuring out how to get to your lawyer's office. I'll come to you.
We worry about your case so you don't have to.
When you've been injured, we know that your case is probably the biggest thing going on in your life. More important than almost anything else.
And it's important to us too, for one simple reason. Family takes care of each other, and at the Lackey Law Firm, we'll take care of you.
The Lackey Law Firm. The Lackey Law Family. 1-800-4RIGHTS.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Tired of the same old menu options everywhere you go? Then you need to try Metro Diner in Huntsville and Madison. The award-winning Metro Diner serves up signature dishes like their Charleston shrimp and grits, famous fried chicken and waffles with strawberry butter, and lots more. Their entire menu is available anytime, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And stop by for brunch on Saturday or Sunday and enjoy the lowest price mimosas in town. Airport Road, Huntsville, and Highway 72 in Madison. In diner or at home, make it Metro Diner. Our latest zone deal is from the Hummus and Pita Company, where everything served is made from scratch right on site. Executive Chef Jose Tapia's menu draws its inspiration from across the Mediterranean and beyond, with nods to Greece, Israel, Morocco, and the Middle East. And right now, you can enjoy $50 worth of the scratch-made goodness of the Hummus and Pita Company for half price, just $25. Log on 977ESPN.com now for your half-price zone deal from the Hummus and Pita Company, and get yours before they're gone.
You don't have to get up too early in the morning to be with Talking Ball, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. You just need to be up at 7 o'clock. We're on every day, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Getting ready to put a cap on hour number 1, 256-576-4977. And coming up later, you got a few days, but Tennessee will make their way out to Omaha to play in the College World Series. First time since 2005 they'll do so. And, of course, they're headed to Omaha, and that means Peyton Manning had to get involved somehow and some way. Yesterday, Peyton Manning sent a special message to the Tennessee baseball program.
Hey, sorry, let me grab this Zoom call real quick. Peyton, what's up, man?
Coach, what's going on? Congratulations. Awesome win in the Supers. Really proud of you guys. This is exciting stuff.
Thanks a ton. We're anxious to get up to
Omaha.
Yeah, that's right.
You guys are playing hard. It's been fun to watch.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the guys are doing what they need to do, and the fans in the stands have been rowdy. We're hoping they pack up their bags and meet us up in
Omaha.
Yeah, that's the place.
That's what you're talking about. You're talking about Omaha. Okay, good. I'm just making sure. And so, Coach, when are you guys heading out?
We'll load up the bus and jump on our flight tomorrow afternoon and, go on up to...
Omaha!
Yes, that's accurate. That is accurate.
Okay. Well, look, Coach, like I said, great to talk to you. Best of luck. We're pulling hard for you guys. Tell the team we said good luck. Listen, if you need me, I'll be ready. I'll have my arm loose for you.
Perfect. We might need you in Omaha.
Coach, one more time. It's kind of 3-syllable. It's rhythmic, right from the diaphragm. Omaha!
Gotcha. See you in Omaha!
Yes!
My ears are hurting. Omaha!
You got to do it 3 syllables. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, that's Peyton Manning. So Tennessee leaving today to head to
Omaha.
That's we'll talk more college baseball as the College World Series gets underway, and we'll break that down as 3 SEC teams will make their trip to Nebraska, to Omaha.
Omaha, like that.
By the way, that's where I was born. By the way, just so you know, Offutt Air Force Base in Omaha.
No wonder you love the pork tenderloin sandwiches. And as Mark Etheridge told us yesterday, they also have good steak.
Let's go to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Shane Sean is with us this morning.
What's up, brother?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Doing good.
Doing well. How are you, sir?
Hey, I got a question for you.
Right.
Is Kentucky going to Omaha?
No, they're not. They don't.
No, they're not going nowhere because Kentucky sucks along with Jeff from the Borough.
Oh, boy.
Look, I would say something, but he sets himself up for all of that. So
No,
people.
he does. I used to like listening to Jeff from the Borough when he called in his his calm voice. And,
Yep.
and I love a homer. I absolutely love a homer. But if you're going to be a homer for a school that wins something besides volleyball.
Well, I really think it traumatized him that John Calipari had a losing season and Kentucky was terrible in basketball, even if it was an unusual year.
He come on the radio talking to Wes and Steve, and they got made it a little commercial spew about Mr. Herb Jones Clinkety Clank. Mr. Herb Jones Clinkety Clank spanked Kentucky's ass in their own arena.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really...
When he first started calling in, he was calling in here in the morning, and he was great. It was fun to listen to him.
I used to love listening to
Yes!
him. I used to love it. Now he's just become a psychotic dumbass.
I can't disagree there.
I would rather listen to my 14-year-old son take a dump on the radio than listen to him now.
Well, I mean,
he's making me hate Kentucky.
Well, I mean, he's making fun of the Braves, and he's a Cub fan, and I know Scott's a Cub fan.
Yes.
But this is the franchise that's called the Lovable Losers because they've lost for so many years. They did finally break through in 2016 and win the World Series. That was a great moment. But it took them over 100 years.
Yes, I took my son to the Braves game last night, the Braves-Red Sox, because his favorite team is the Red Sox, and they're playing a couple days after his birthday. So I took him there last night, but all I could think about was how stupid and moronic Jeff from the Borough is.
He's in your head. He's in the head.
He's in my head. He's living rent-free in my head right now, but I don't want to hear him. I wish he'd rip his daggum vocal cords out and never talk again in his life. He can't go back. He cannot go back to the good Jeff from the Borough when he first started calling anymore because I don't want to hear him. Go away.
Oh, boy.
Well, I'm sure that there's...
And like I said, I'm not speaking for Scott or Drew. This is me. Or no other caller. This is me. I hate you. Go away. Don't come back.
All right. Thanks for the
strong
call
from Shane John. There's not really anything I could say there.
He sets himself up for it.
That's all. You heard it, everybody. I mean, he is telling Jeff to go away and shunning him. Oh man!
But I mean, it's 256-576-4977. We're almost done with hour one. There it is.
We want to thank Josh Pate. That was a highlight of this first hour of the show. And I give Shane Sean a lot of credit for calling in and laying it down. He called his shot. Good job, sir.
All right, that's hour one in the books. Hour two is going to get off. We're going to have some more intelligent conversation. We got to talk some basketball. We got to talk some more football stadiums being full, and Major League Baseball has a big sticky problem. We'll let you know what it is when we return.
Live Listen to the Tom Abraham Show.
And he loves fishing.
Well, how are they not better than the Sun Belt champion? That's what I'm saying. I'm saying.
First of all, I'll be honest with you. I watched last year. I don't know that Oregon beat Coastal Carolina.
Oh, come on.
I'm serious
Really?
about that. No. Yes, really. Yes, really. They were not that good.
Listen to the Big Dog, weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hey folks, this is Arthur Seaton, managing partner of University Kia, here letting you know we are proud supporters of Madison Academy football. And a quick shout out to my son, Avery Seaton, number 19. Stop into University Kia today and shop our large selection of new Kias, including our all-new Telluride 8-passenger SUV, the stylish new K5, and the sporty new Seltos. Visit universitykia.com to view all our great offers and get pre-approved in minutes so you can drive home your new Kia today, because we want to see you in the Kia. Go Mustangs!
WZZN, Union Grove, Huntsville, Alabama. 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It's got a wreck on the Parkway southbound north of Bob Wade. That one's going to turn out to be a no injury, but it's definitely going to slow traffic coming southbound. Everything else looks pretty good this morning. Earlier wrecks have been cleared. I'm not seeing any new snags. No mask, no hose. The Somnodent from Dr. Sandman's an easy-to-use oral device. Insurance approved for sleep apnea and for snoring. 350-CARE or RandallSandlin.com. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
The WZDX Pinpoint Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. Really is going to be a beautiful Wednesday across North Alabama, southern Middle Tennessee. Low humidity, plenty of sunshine, and temperatures hanging out in the low and mid-80s, dropping into the lower 60s as we head into the overnight. Thursday is essentially going to be a repeat, mostly sunny skies, low humidity, temperatures in the mid and upper 80s, dropping into the lower 60s through the overnight. It's going to feel a little more humid on Friday, still plenty of sunshine, temperatures hanging out in the upper 80s and lower 90s. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Brent Musburger's VSiN Action Update on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. This Action Update is brought to you by Keeps. Tired of losing your hair? Get 50% off for your first order at Keeps.com/VSiN. Keeps.com/VSiN.
NBA tonight, Game 5 between the Hawks and Sixers in Philadelphia. Sixers a 6-point home favorite, the over-under 223.5. Later, the Clippers and the Jazz, Game 5 in the West Semis. Jazz a 2.5-point home favorite, 222 total. NHL, the Golden Knights and Canadiens in Game 2 of the semifinal series. Vegas leading the series 1-0, minus 255 on the money line. Montreal plus 215, the over-under 5. Baseball, the Braves and Red Sox again tonight. Atlanta falling in Game 1 Tuesday, 10-8. They come into tonight once again a money line favorite, minus 155. Boston at plus 135, over under 9. Ian Anderson getting the start for the Braves against Garrett Richards for the Sox.
I'm Trey Westerberg, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Log on today, 97.7ESPN.com. Welcome to Talkin Ball with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Scott and Drew.
All right, it's hour number 2 of Talking Ball. 256-576-4977. That is the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. You can help us kick off hour number 2 here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone's Talking Ball. Great to be with everyone on a Wednesday. Hey, now's the time to go to 97.7ESPN.com or WZZN.halfoffdeal.com. That's where you can find the best half-off deals throughout the Tennessee Valley. And $50 worth of food for $25 to the Hummus and Pita Company. Get on out there and enjoy some great food from the Hummus and Pita Company. Was by there yesterday, and they had everything all laid out there, nice and neat for you guys. Go down out there, Hummus and Pita Company. $50 worth of food for just $25. Again, 256-576-4977. That is the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. As we kick off hour number 2, We do talk a little college basketball. We'll go back to college football, but we do got some basketball news. Alabama's James Rojas, Drew, torn ACL. The good news is they say he can come back they're hoping for the portion of the SEC season.
Right, and it's we talked about this yesterday. I had heard it through good sources that Rojas had gone down in practice last week, and it looked like it was going to be another ACL. And it's sad it's the other knee, so he's torn both the right and the left, unfortunately, in his short time in Tuscaloosa. But you're right. Nate Oates released a statement yesterday saying that they're still confident that James Rojas can make his way back by the SEC portion of the schedule, which would be January. And we hope so. It'd be a really miraculous recovery. Now we've seen guys playing with torn ACLs and making it back. We talked about the college baseball situation. A couple of guys.
Well, that one in Ole Miss.
Yep, absolutely. And so there's been a couple of instances in college baseball this year where guys have come back and played with torn ACLs. Now, it's different. They were DHs, and they ended up, basically they weren't able to run the bases tremendously well, but they were able to hit and swing a bat. With James Rojas basketball, you really need to be healthy and be able to run up and down the floor, with the knee. But we've also seen in certain instances quick recoveries, even with an ACL. So we'll see. I don't know how severe this one was, but certainly thoughts and prayers go out to James. That's why I said prayers up the other day, trying to be discreet with the injury situation. But really feel for him. He's a great kid who accepted his role. He won 3 games last year for Alabama, basically with clutch plays. Got big free throws he made at South Carolina, a huge 3 to clinch the SEC regular season in Starkville, and then early in the year against the Furman Paladins made a big 3 to basically ice that game. So he's someone that he's a role guy that is a tough physical kid. He's somebody that he's a little bit undersized, but he gives you all he's got, and he plays his role, and he's really good for chemistry in a locker room. And so we hope that he can have a quick recovery and finish his career the way he wants to.
All right, we've got plenty of other football talk to get to, and we're going to get to that here in just a minute. But Jason now joins us on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, fellas.
Morning.
Hey, Josh Primo. I heard something that he was going in the first round. Is that true, Drew?
No, I mean that's he's getting some buzz. That doesn't mean he's going in the first round. Now we'll see. I think a lot of it's going to come down to how he plays in this combine. He got invited along with John Petty and Herbert Jones, so he's going to have a chance to impress some NBA people. There's already some people that like him a lot because he's a very young guy. I think he just turned 18. And he's someone that has a lot of upside, and they feel like, well, if you could steal him in the later parts of the first round, he's a guy that could come back to school and be a lottery pick, and you'd save a lot of money. So Josh Primo and his people are going to have to weigh that decision as well, because I do think if he came back to Alabama and had a really big year, that he could be a lottery pick.
Yeah, I just couldn't understand that. I think several players that was a lot better than he was last year. I'm not saying he's a bad ball player by any means, but I couldn't figure that out. How his stock rose so much.
Well, I mean, he came in with a lot of buzz because of how he had played in in the Basketball Without Borders and the under-19 Canadian national team. He played very well in that showcase last year, no doubt about it. And he reclassified because, really, honestly, he's supposed to be going into his freshman year of college. Jason.
Okay. I knew when Kyra Lewis was going to enter in his freshman year, and they told him he couldn't because of his age.
Yeah, I think Primo's a little older. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I mean, they'll be fine without him. The guard that played a bunch from Florida last year, he done real well.
Yeah.
Did they finish the guard?
Yeah. And they've got Namari Burnett coming in from Texas Tech, who I think is an outstanding two-way guy who impressed me in Alabama's workout the other day.
Have you seen the film on the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game when Davidson running the point?
Yeah, I actually watched some of that game live.
He's got a eye for the pass, does he not?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's improved quite a bit, no doubt about it. About it. I think his feel for the game, his ability to read the pick and roll, I think he's really impressed the Alabama coaches with the way he plays. The one thing he's got to do is be more consistent with his outside shot, but I think he's going to improve on that a lot. Watching him shoot it in their workout, he didn't hit a lot of threes, but the form looked good, and I think he's only going to get better. And when you factor that in with his athleticism and his basketball IQ and his instincts, I mean, it's off the charts.
Yeah. I don't know where they'll put him at next year, but he'll be playing early.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I agree with that.
I got one. It'd be a little trivia question for Jeff.
Oh, boy.
From the Burrows. Do you know what Denny Crum's career record is against Kentucky?
Well, I do not. The great Denny Crum, of course, who won national championships in 1980 and 1986 with Louisville, and longtime assistant under John Wooden at UCLA.
Yeah, he's 2 for 3. He got the best of the series against him.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that little trivia question out for Jeff this morning.
There we go. Denny Crum winning record against Kentucky.
And it could have been worse. That Kentucky always dodged it when they had, Darryl Griffith, Dr. Duncanstein.
Yeah, the doctors of dunk. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't think Kentucky ran from anybody. I thought they played everybody in basketball.
They do.
Oh, that only come up after towards Denny's career when they looked a little bit weaker.
Jason, thanks for the call. Boy, everybody just wanting to pile in on Jeff today, aren't they? 256-576-4977. That's the number to the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. And I was joking about this at the top of the show. And we don't even need to play the games anymore, the college football games in the fall, because everybody is predicting everything ahead of time. We don't even need to play the games. We can just go ahead and say, okay, this is what's going to happen now in the preseason, because we've seen way too early top 25s. We've seen way too early over-unders. We've seen way too early score predictions for week one, like predicting of scores for week one. And 24/7 Sports, though, has said, okay, this is what your record's going to be after the season. And you can buy it or sell it. It's up to you. Vanderbilt, 2-10 with an 0-8 record in the SEC for Clark Lee. They're not even going to win a game in the SEC. So Vanderbilt doesn't even need to show up this year.
I mean, everybody has predictions. Everybody's going to try to talk about, okay, this is what's going to happen in said game. This is what's going to happen in this season. I think it's still a little early. Creates conversation. But the one thing, like with Alabama and Miami, we don't even know De'Aaron King's true availability.
Right.
I mean, he's speaking of ACLs, he's coming back from one. No doubt about that. And again, that's just part of it, though. But I do think it's going to be a struggle in year one at Vandy. I do think by the time Derek Mason left the program, I still think, he did a nice job with what he was given, but it kind of bottomed out a little bit on him. And so, and Clark Lee trying to make some changes, trying to do things a little bit different organizationally. The very interesting hire of Barton Simmons, who is so heavily involved in recruiting with 24/7 Sports. So, one thing I will say about Vandy's administration, especially when it comes to football, they have been very patient with their head coaches. They don't fire them quickly because they understand that in many ways they have a hand tied behind their back.
Things don't get better for Mike Leach in Mississippi State in year two. 5-7, 2-6 overall in the SEC. Same record as Arkansas when it comes to SEC play. 2-6. For Sam Pittman in his second year, 4-8 overall.
Well, their schedule's brutal. I mean, they play as tough a schedule as anyone.
Kentucky and Mark Stoops. Oh, this is a shame. 9-3 overall, 5-3 in the SEC.
And then, Jeff gets all over me about this, and because I said that they would never win the East, and I'm being what I said. That's going to be a very difficult thing. And I'll go on the record as I'll go a step further. Jeff, if everything lines up for you, brother, and they do win the East one year. I mean, I don't think it will ever happen, but if it does, you might as well kiss Stoops goodbye because he's probably going to go to another school because he'll be the hottest coach in the country. So, but I do think Kentucky, for me, is the most intriguing, only because we haven't seen them offensively. Now, we didn't see the Gators offensively, but we already know what Dan Mullen does.
Right.
I mean, he has a track record. Mark Stoops has a track record of defense, being pretty sound in the kicking game, and then running the football with physicality. But now he's making offensive changes, brought in a new offensive coordinator. We don't know who the QB is going to be. We didn't see them in the spring. To me, they're the most intriguing because they do have talent. They are a lot better than they are, 1 through 85 than they were during the disaster of Joker Phillips. And so he's really – it's gotten better. He's stayed with it because Stoops could have gone to Florida State, and he didn't. And that it goes back to something Josh Pate said about the landscape changing. It does show that Kentucky has committed a lot of money to football, and he felt confident in Mitch Barnhart and their administration to stay there at least. And he wasn't as confident in Florida State. And to me, if I'm a Florida State fan, that kind of makes me, want to stick my head in the toilet a little bit. Like, wow, we're not as committed to football as Kentucky, and of course, but the SEC is superior to the ACC in so many ways, and that's why.
South Carolina 5-7 and 2-6 in Shane Beamer's first year. Auburn, the final prediction is 6-6, 500 overall, 3-5 in SEC play. Of course, they've got Penn State, LSU, Georgia, Texas A&M, Alabama on the schedule.
It's a tough schedule. I would still lean more to 7-5. In a bowl game for Brian Harsin, but we'll see him.
Missouri 6-6, 3-5, which is kind of surprising because they have probably one of the most, not the talented, but one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league, and we'll see what he does in his sophomore season. Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin 8-4, 5-3 for Lane Kiffin, which means they must find a defense between now and then. If they're going to go 8-4, that means their defense will be radically improved. Tennessee and Josh Heupel 6-6, 2-6 overall in SEC play. Texas A&M 10-2, 6-2 in SEC play. With their 2 losses. It just says if Texas A&M upsets Alabama in College Station fall, the Aggies become a front runner for the West. However, a loss puts A&M's back against the wall and makes every game the rest of the way a must win, which is the situation they have been in the last couple years. Florida 9-3, 5-3 with Dan Mullen. LSU 9-3, 5-3 in SEC play. If Ed Orgeron goes 5-3 in SEC play, is that okay?
Yeah, it's a bounce back because they weren't very good last year.
Georgia 12-1, 8-0 in SEC play. Mm-hmm. So the one loss, obviously coming against Clemson. That's what they're predicting for Georgia. So they'd lose to Clemson and run the table from there. Alabama 13-0, 8-0. Mm-hmm. Run the table again for Alabama in the SEC. Feasible?
It's feasible. I mean, they're going to have Bryce Young stay healthy, and these receivers continue to mature and play well. The offensive line to gel. I don't think the schedule is as difficult as in some years. I think they can be ready for that road trip to College Station, and that's going to be the biggest litmus test probably of the season because A&M is going to throw everything into that game. But Rick Neuheisel had some interesting comments recently about about this year for Jimbo Fisher being the biggest of his career because of his reputation as a quarterback whisperer.
Right.
But now he's, who's going to win that battle? Is it going to be a guy like Haynes King? Is he going to be the QB? How good is he going to be? Because you've got to feel like they've recruited well enough. They should be good on defense. They've been able to keep Mike Elko in place as their defensive coordinator. They've been solid in the kicking game. They got to like their place kicker. They should have one of the better place kickers in the league. And so I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, and of course their running game. They've got a really good. They've got their backfield intact. So besides the quarterback who was the 4-year starter in Kellen Mond, so it basically comes down to can he coach the quarterback up? And are these receivers, some of them coming off of injuries that missed the majority of last season, are these receivers going to be the real deal as well? You know they've got tight ends, with 2 or 3 tight ends that are really talented. So A&M's going to be one of the teams everybody's watching. They're going to be a consensus top 2, definitely top 3 team in the SEC West because, again, I said that Kentucky was kind of the X factor in the East. I think basically LSU in the West because we don't know yet. We got to see Miles Brennan, how healthy he is. Is Max Johnson going to build on what he did at the end of last year? And can LSU improve defensively? Because it was just an abomination last year where they couldn't stop anyone.
All right, some more college football news, the good kind that we like to throw out there. Tennessee and the University of Tennessee announcing that Neyland Stadium will be 100% capacity for the fall. UCLA announcing that their game with LSU in the Rose Bowl will be 100% capacity, and USC announcing their games will be 100% capacity as well. So the West Coast starting to get on board.
Yeah, hopefully they'll understand that football's back and some people will actually show up and watch it. We don't know how good it's going to be, but certainly it's certainly different out there in La La Land. But
it is,
and you'd think Chip Kelly's ass would be getting just a little bit, hot too.
Oh, that seat's got to be burning out there. In
for the money they're paying him, and he's not now that he doesn't have Phil Knight backing him at Oregon. It has been underwhelming.
When you talk about Ed Orgeron and trying to get things back on track for Chip Kelly, if LSU goes out there and dismantles UCLA. And Chip Kelly struggles out of the gates, Chip Kelly may not make it the whole year at UCLA.
Well, it goes back to something Josh Pate said in Hour 1. Sometimes the grass ain't always greener. Maybe he should have stayed at Oregon. He had a championship-level program, the infrastructure he wanted. He goes to the National Football League, is a colossal flop. After one good year with Philly, it fell apart. The 49ers, oh, my Lord, that was a dumpster fire. And then I think he chose the wrong job. He had a choice. He could have gone to Florida or he could have gone to UCLA. And he went to UCLA instead of the Gators.
And he's also trying to reinvent himself in the process. And he has said multiple times at UCLA that he is not going to go back and do the things he did at Oregon. He's not going to go to the up-tempo, the fast, the Chip Kelly stuff that made Chip Kelly Chip Kelly. He's not doing it at UCLA. He's doing the complete opposite. He's trying to reinvent himself, and it's going to reinvent himself in the unemployment line.
Well,
is what it's going to do.
Be an analyst on the Pac-12 network that nobody watches. I don't know. If he doesn't hurry up, if he doesn't turn this sucker around,
and he'll have to get up early because remember they got those early kickoff times for the Pac-12 and Big 12 games. Remember, coaches don't like those out there.
Oh, I know.
Let's get a break in. When we come back, we'll talk some Alabama football and recruiting as well.
Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com, set to join us in a few minutes.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Just got a wreck eastbound 565 right at the ramp to go southbound on the Parkway. This one's being reported with injuries. Parkway southbound near Bob Wade, that one also had a minor injury involved. Still got some problems for southbound traffic. Eastbound 565 near Greenbrier, this one was slowing things down. Should be clearing on it pretty quick. Snelling has immediate need for experienced retail sales associates. These are direct hire positions with solid benefits. Huntsville.snelling.com. Captain Nick in the 72 and Jeff Popeye's Skywatch Traffic Center.
This is Wes Neighbors talking to Chris Haygood of Bob Wallace Appliance. Chris, what sets you apart from other appliance dealerships?
Wes, these appliances are going into the most used room in your house, your kitchen. The way we have these appliances displayed, it's easy for you to visualize how they'll look in your home. Wes, what sets us apart is the people. They're well trained. In fact, they live and breathe these appliances. And if you need service, you'll really appreciate our parts department.
Contact Bob Wallace Appliance at 256-533-2121.
Here's Bobby White from Woody Anderson Ford on their service department.
President's Award winner 2 years in a row. That's only given to the top 10% of Ford dealers in customer satisfaction. So we're very proud of the service department. And our body shop. If you happen to get into an accident, which not a lot of people just want to go down and see a body shop, but if you get into an accident, award-winning body shop. We have state-of-the-art paint booths back there. They're waterborne paints that we use, friendly for the environment. We've got our production system, the way things are in and out. We have the fastest cycle rate in town of getting your vehicle in, getting your vehicle out, and assured that it's fixed right. We take pictures before it's wrecked, and not only after, but we take it as we're putting the parts on. All done to above industry standards. So I'm proud of our body shop too. Don't forget our parts department. So if you happen to need parts, performance parts, or just parts if you're a weekend mechanic.
Woody Anderson Ford, located at the corner of Jordan and Sparkman, as well as Hughes Road and Madison. You can also check out the great deals at WoodyAndersonFord.com.
Hey there, Bob Baumhauer here. I hope all of you are well. These are trying times we're experiencing right now, and I want you to know that we at Baumhauer's are committed more than ever to providing a legendary dining experience to everyone. Everyone is important to us, and everyone is welcome. Please allow us to serve you in a way that makes you feel safe, appreciated, welcome, and special. Because we're all special in the eyes of the ones and the one that counts. God bless.
Have you tried the Hummus and Pita Company? Everything we make is 100% homemade, fresh, and health-focused, and you can enjoy it in our inviting contemporary environment. At the Hummus and Pita Company, we combine authentic flavors from across the Mediterranean with family recipes that have been developed from generation to generation. The Hummus and Pita Company, devoted to bringing high-quality, flavorful food to as many people as possible. In Huntsville at 2317 Memorial Parkway. See our full menu and more at hummusandpita.com.
Coming up next, it's the Tom Abraham Show with me, Tom Abraham. Now back to more Talkin' Ball with Scott and Drew.
Welcome back. 8:25 on our Wednesday morning edition of Talkin' Ball right here on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. Remember, safe travels into work wherever you may be headed on this Wednesday. 68 degrees as you start your day. Should be another warm one here in the Tennessee Valley. Nice day, though, hopefully. Get on out, do something, enjoy this weather. We've talked a lot of college football. We've talked some basketball. We've talked a lot of good mix this morning. And let's update a lot of recruiting, Drew, because these camps are going on. Kids are visiting all over the place. It's great to see. It's great to see when you see so-and-so visited this school and that school. And it's good to see that again.
It is, no doubt about it. And our next guest is as well connected as any. It's a great honor to be a part of TiderInsider.com. We contribute some audio to there and also some stories. He's been around since 1996, as long as anyone in the business. And, of course, it's the most accurate information out there. And it's the founder and owner of Tider Insider. And he's going to join us now, Rodney Orr, on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Rodney, I hope your summer's going well so far, man. You're Drew and Scott. How are you?
Doing well, Drew and Scott. I heard Scott mention it's 68. That's pretty nice for a June morning, huh?
Oh, it is. There's a little bit of refreshment there. It doesn't stay 68, but it's nice to start your morning.
Yeah, it certainly is, Rodney. And I know it's been interesting an off season so far. I know the camp season has been fast and furious. No, overnight camps this year, but a lot of one-day camps. We knew the month of June was going to be extremely busy on the campus at the University of Alabama. What has been your take on the pulse of it as things are not completely back to normal, but they're certainly on that track?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, again, this is one of the bigger months, I think, when you talk about summer months, recruiting, visits, camps, all of those things combined. This is one of the bigger recruiting summer months that I ever recall in that regard. Now, I think a lot of people, and we did a story, some notes a few days ago, and talked about this. I think a few people were under the impression, well, all of a sudden these commitments were going to start flowing in immediately. But that's really not a surprise to us that Alabama's only picked up one this month, Le'Veon Moss, running back from down in Baton Rouge. But, listen, here's the deal. first of all, think about this. These kids have not taken any visits. Most of these kids, they might have gone on some game visits, but they really haven't had this opportunity, full-scale visits, the attention they get from coaches, the information that they can gather, the opportunity that they have, the time, and all of that. So they haven't had these visits like this. And so they're going to take advantage of this opportunity, and they should, to make a well-informed decision. And that's, they're going to take the time, absorb these visits, and then make their decision. On the flip side of that, if you're Alabama, for example, this is your first time to really be able to have an opportunity to eyeball these kids in person, make evaluations, have them work out, check them out in evaluations in the camp. Then what Alabama, the staff will do, and I'm sure that's the way it's going to be at a lot of schools, they'll go back after this month, sit down, reformulate their board, and kind of go from there, make their priority list. But here's the thing, too. I think next month in July, and we may see some commitments by the end of this month, not that we won't, but I do think next month they might trickle in a little bit. But I could see this process, this being a little bit different year where there's either not many commitments or you have a lot of flips, a lot of indecision, all those things because of, what we've gone through.
Yeah, no question. And Rodney, it's interesting now because we're really starting to see the effect in this cycle, especially with the dead period finally opening back up or being finally just halted. We've seen so many kids on the road visiting campuses, and now the month of June, as far as official visits, has become really almost as big as the fall because a lot of these kids, especially some elite players, are going ahead and having their officials in the summer before their senior season.
Yeah, it's amazing. And part of that, too, is probably most, and I don't even know what the percentage of the guys who signed last year, for example, were early signees. I mean, I'm talking about across the country. It's pretty high, signed in December versus February. And I think a lot of these kids, when you're talking about making visits, this is the best time right now, especially if you're going to sign early, because, during the fall, you don't get as great of an opportunity. It's difficult, after high school games to make these visits. So I think this is more of a convenient time. And I do think there's a little bit of, on the prospects and the coaching staff, that where they are right now, that it's so competitive, everyone's kind of scrambling to make that first grade impression, so to speak. So I think it's important that you line up these visits. Alabama's done a great job of that. They've got a big weekend this weekend. You line up these visits, get these kids here, and kind of start this process to rolling strongly ahead.
Rodney, have you noticed an influx, though, of kids trying to get out to these camps simply because they didn't have anything last year? Are you seeing a lot more kids get to camps at this point than what we've had in the past? Have the numbers increased?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing, to be honest with you. It's a little bit different here at Alabama. We're kept at an arm's length. We can't really get there and do the things that a lot of these other SEC programs allow their media to do. To get there, to observe camps, take pictures. They grab interviews as kids are leaving or kids are coming. And I don't say that as a complaint. I'm just trying to offer up something that's a little bit different here. Alabama just doesn't allow the media access that these other schools allow. So it's kind of hard to sit here and compare, these camps. Based on what we hear, obviously there is a ton of kids, coming through these camps. I tell you what's really amazing too is I think there's an extremely high number of like 2023 kids, 2024, even 2025 kids that are rolling through these camps, trying to get a head start on their recruitment. And I've talked to some 2023 kids, parents here in the last few weeks. And they're making visits all over, too. I said 2023, 2024, et cetera. But I've talked to some of those parents, and they're getting ahead of the game, too. So, yeah, it probably has picked up the numbers quite a bit.
It really has. And even though there hasn't been a steady flow of commitments. You talked about Le'Veon Moss. Before we kind of go into some buzz, though, from what that you've been hearing from TiderInsider.com on guys that are now on campus that are part of the on paper, many people believe could be the greatest recruiting class they've ever seen signed. Talk about the Moss and kind of your take on him, because Alabama's had two running backs going to the portal, Keelan Robinson going to Texas, and we know Kyle Edwards is headed elsewhere. So you understand why Alabama's been a little aggressive in filling those two spots already with Emmanuel Henderson and now Moss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I have a really good source down in Louisiana that's been tracking these kids, evaluating them, gets to know them really well for years. So he's got a great track record, and I did talk to him. We did a story on that on Le'Veon Moss on TiderInsider.com, and he's followed Le'Veon since he was a really young kid, and he loves him. Just thinks that he's a fantastic talent. He actually. He said, look, I'll sum it up for you quickly. He's T.J. Yeldon 2.0, but probably a little faster coming out of high school. So that kind of tells you a little bit about this guy's talent. Remember, T.J. Yeldon was a 1,000-yard rusher, sharing carries with Eddie Lacy as a true freshman. Remember that.
In 2012, yep.
Yeah, it was a fantastic talent. I think some injuries probably slowed him down a little bit, but, Le'Veon Moss, fantastic running back. And guess what? You've got one coming in this weekend, Branson Robinson. A lot of people think he's the best running back in the country out of Madison, Mississippi, Germantown High School. Now, again, you talk to everybody, they think Georgia's the favorite. He's even kind of hinted that Georgia's probably his leader right now, but he is taking these visits. And let me tell you, when Nick Saban gets a guy on campus, I was talking to a very prominent high school coach in the state of Texas last week, and he was like, I've got coaches flowing in here all the time, and I've had players committed to other schools, and then Alabama starts recruiting them. And I tell those coaches, those schools where they're committed, hey, if you don't want this guy to flip, you better not let him visit Alabama, because it's going to be different over there, in the way they do things. And so with that said, even though Branson Robinson's not committed, he is certainly, I think, considered a lean to Georgia. You get him on campus, Nick Saban, they do a fantastic job. So that's a guy that I would really, I would at least keep an eye on it, because he would be a great fit here, at Alabama in this system. And, here's the funny thing, guys, before I forget. We got all these guys coming in. We got Damani Jackson this week, 5-star corner committed to USC out of Santa Ana, California, same high school as Bryce Young. You've got Luther Burden, a 5-star receiver committed to Oklahoma. You've got Danny Dennis Sutton, an outstanding defensive lineman from up in Owings Mills, Maryland. Just several, the top 22 prospects. You got Earl Little, who's supposed to come in, I think, tomorrow, actually, out of Plantation, Florida, who's a top-notch corner prospect, too. But you've got all these guys, and guess what? The biggest name on campus this weekend probably will be a rising junior quarterback by the name of Arch Manning. And I'm talking about just in terms of, obviously, notoriety.
Yeah.
But, so that'll be an interesting recruitment, I should say, to follow over the next year as well.
Yeah, we've kind of followed his rise a little bit the last year and a half or whatever, and he has made some. I think he's been to Clemson and Alabama as part of his thing. It's going to be an interesting journey with Arch Manning.
Oh, yeah, no question. You have a lot of Alabama fans. I'm sure you have some listeners out there. Look, I watched the 1969 game, Archie Manning, Scott Hunter, and I'm sure you got a lot of listeners out there that remember that, and also remember Pate Manning leading the band and all this stuff, Eli Manning in 2003, carving Alabama up in Oxford, all of those things, and they're like, a Manning would never come to Alabama. Listen, this is going to be Nick Saban's used this phrase, but this is something I've, picked up on through speaking to people close to that situation. This is going to be a business decision. This is not going to be an emotional decision. I think the goal is to find the best place, the place that he feels most comfortable, that can develop him, give him the opportunity, give him players around him, give him the opportunity to do something that a Manning's never done, which is win a national championship, possibly win a Heisman Trophy, but also develop him into the best quarterback he can be, prepare him for the NFL. So I think all of those things are extremely important. I mean, if it was an emotional decision, maybe he goes to Ole Miss or maybe he goes to Tennessee. Who knows? But I don't think that's going to be part of it.
Well, Rod, we're speaking to Rodney Orr, founder and owner of TireInsider.com. But speaking of quarterbacks, Alabama, it's a loaded quarterback room, or has the potential to be in the future. You've got Bryce Young. You mentioned him already. Everyone excited to see him take the reins this year, Rodney. But also, as far as off-season buzz, I know you really like Ty Simpson. He's already been one of these guys that's committed, a 5-star from Westview in high school in Tennessee, in Martin, Tennessee. He was, from what I understand, he put on a really good workout. But the other quarterback everyone's been excited about that's on campus is Jalen Milroe, and I know you've heard some more buzz about him.
Yeah, and I should mention Ty Simpson. You're right, Drew. He is, I love him, fantastic player. I mean, everybody I talk to, it seems like that I really trust says, hey, this guy here, he has a little Aaron Rodgers in him. So he's a fantastic talent. He's a guy, Ty Simpson, that Alabama fans keep that ear out for him. He's helping tremendously in the recruiting this year as well. So he'll be a guy. But you mentioned Jalen Milroe out of Katy Tompkins, Texas, a guy that was originally committed to Texas, flipped to Alabama after Drake May, who was committed to Alabama out of North Carolina, flipped to North Carolina. It's kind of, the domino effect. But, Jalen Milroe's he went through spring practice. I think that the second scrimmage, he really turned some heads. Tremendous athlete. You're talking about a guy that's probably close to 6'2". He's 205, 210. I mean, he's muscled up. I mean, he looks, just looking at him on the hoof, he looks fantastic. And a guy that's got a really strong arm. He didn't really play in a system in high school that asked him to throw the ball 50 times a game like some of these kids do. But he is a good passer. Again, tremendously strong arm, fabulous athlete. When you're talking about a guy that's big, strong, physical, and can really, really move, Jalen Milroe's got a ton of potential, no question.
Yeah, and Rodney, a couple other guys that intrigued me with your off-season buzz, because they sometimes these kids that don't enroll early, it's not that they get forgotten, it's just they get kind of put on the back burner until they get on campus. But I know you've been hearing some things about the other Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
That's the one from Cincinnati, Ohio, the cousin of Sean Alexander, and of course one of the guys that I think could be, and that's saying a lot because this recruiting class from one to however many, I would say it's an indefinite, because I know they've had as many as 27. They continue to add numbers to this class, but also Terry and Arnold.
Yeah, Devontae Smith, isn't it amazing? I mean, that doesn't happen. That name Devontae is kind of a unique name, and you lose a Devontae Smith and you add a Devontae Smith. And this one's obviously a defensive back. He can play a lot of positions. Just watching him, his tape, he reminds me a lot of a Malachi Moore, Brian Branch type player with his versatility, great tackler, just has great instincts for the game, very smart kid, catches on extremely well. And, he's out of Cincinnati, Ohio. You mentioned he's Sean Alexander's cousin, but he was originally committed to Ohio State, for your listeners that don't follow it closely, flipped to Alabama last year, about a year ago this time. And the thing about him, actually, I had someone that has been observing some of the workouts that I spoke to yesterday, and they said, look, this guy jumped out at us yesterday running, just his physical athleticism and all of those things. That, not only does he have all those tools that I just mentioned earlier about the tackler and all this stuff, but he's got all those other qualities physically. Runs extremely well, gifted. He said, it's Terry on Arnold, same thing, out of Tallahassee, 5-star safety, could play corner, but tremendous player. Said athletically he was extremely impressive as well. And again, a lot of this is going to come down to, you mentioned that the secondary is pretty stacked right now, but these guys, they've got a lot to learn. That's one thing we forget. I mean, this defensive system Nick Saban has a way he does it, and he's got his system, and it requires these guys to catch on. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but yeah, those two guys have stood out. We mentioned Milroe, and I tell you another guy that has kind of come up is Jamison Williams, the wide receiver transfer out of Ohio State. That he spent but 2 years there, and a lot of big things expected of him in terms of helping out with this wide receiver core at Alabama with his speed. And I've really heard some positive things about him in the 7-on-7. I've even heard a lot of speculation. When on that first play, Jamison Williams will be on the field. He's got that kind of ability. So he's a name that's come up, and I'm hearing a lot of positive things about Fedarian Mathis, the defensive lineman going into his senior year out of Louisiana, and just the leadership that he's taken in the off season, how great a shape he's gotten into. He apparently is really set on finishing with a bang. And I've always liked Fedarian Mathis. I've always thought he was a guy that really was kind of blue collar. He wasn't. Sometimes he wasn't the flashiest, but looking forward to Fedarian Mathis having a big year.
Well, and that goes back to your point of Rodney's development. Sometimes, you have kids that make an impact right away and are star players throughout their time in Tuscaloosa, but others, it's kind of a slower build. But I thought Mathis took a huge step forward last year, and if he takes another, that's a guy that could end up being a top 3-round draft pick that's would have had an outstanding career at Alabama.
I agree, and I do agree with you in terms of the step that he took last year. You saw him making some plays, flashing quite a bit, and really becoming an emotional guy up front that took charge. And so those are good things to see. But I'll say this too, and you mentioned development, and that's certainly a key. Alabama does it better than anyone, or as well. But one thing I do like too is I thought the defensive line started really performing better as the season went along. And the reason to me that's a positive, I didn't see that under Brian Baker in his 1 year. I didn't see that under Craig Gulagowski in his year here. So I think Freddie Roach has done a fantastic job of really kind of coming around as a young defensive line coach. He's put in a lot of time working with people like Pete Jenkins, who is a long-time NFL coach, a long time. He was at Auburn and spent many years at LSU. He's got a great reputation, maybe the best defensive line coach, one of the best of all time. And, I know that Freddie has spent a lot of time with him, learning defensive line coaching. And so that's been a great deal. I think Freddie's really come a long way. So that's promising.
It really is. Well, great stuff, Rodney. Good off-season buzz, talking a little recruiting here, and, of course, the current roster at the University of Alabama, talking a little bit of Fedarian Mathis and some of these newcomers to watch as fall camp will be here before we know it. It's hard to believe it's already mid-June. But, Rodney, let everybody know how to connect with you at TiderInsider.com.
Well, I appreciate it, Drew and Scott. It's TiderInsider.com. It's only $48 a year. You can get instant access with your credit card if you prefer. There's an address there to send a check. And gives you all our premium information, but also our all sports forum. I mean, there is a lot of information, a lot of exchange there, opinions, all of those things. But, our message board's really, really popular there at TiderInsider.com, and that's part of our subscription package. Again, only $48, TiderInsider.com.
Thank you, Rodney.
Thanks, Rodney.
Thank you, Scott. Drew, appreciate it.
All right, let's get our break in when we come back. Tomorrow's headlines today.
You're listening to Talkin Ball on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Got a wreck at Wall Triana and Nick Davis. That one reported with injuries. 565 eastbound on the ramp from Madison Boulevard. Nobody hurt there. Eastbound to southbound, 565 to the Parkway was an injury type. Southbound on the Parkway or 231 just north of Bob Wade. That one was a no injury, but it had blockage. Popeye's 3-piece snack is only $4.99. You get 3 pieces of the crispy tender chicken and a buttermilk biscuit. Popeye's University and Jordan, 72 and Jeff and North Parkway. Captain Nick in the Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
With an impressive roster of explosive young superstars and the reigning MVP, the Atlanta Braves are showing the East what they're made of.
1-1 on the way. He connects it. It's a high fly ball to deep right field, way back towards the seats, and this ball is gone.
your new home of the Atlanta Braves.
Hit high in the air to deep right center field. We are tied!
97.7 ESPN, The Zone.
Sitting here with Ann Adams of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Rise Real Estate. Is it a good time to sell your home, Ann?
Yes, it is. We have people relocating from all over the country.
Why should we choose Rise Real Estate?
Well, we've been selling real estate in North Alabama for 36 years and have sold more real estate than any other real estate company, period.
Do you help your customers through the entire process?
Yes, our agents are with you during the whole process from start to finish, from beginning to end.
In your relocation services, you have a whole team.
Yes, we have a dedicated relocation department helping customers move seamlessly into the area.
Ann Adams has been writing contracts for the last 36 years. She has the experience to help you list and sell your home, downsize your home, or help pick the perfect spot north of Alabama for you to build a future.
Call Ann Adams at 256-337-2625 or on the web at www.bhhsriserealestate.com. McCurry Motors is your car and van rental headquarters. You can rent the vehicle you need today. Family in town, sporting event, church function, no matter what your need, McCurry Motors has you covered with a wide selection of cars and vans available for rent. They have 12-passenger Mercedes Sprinter vans, 12-passenger Ford Transit vans, 15-passenger Ford Transit vans, and 15-passenger Chevrolet Express vans. They have 2 locations, Highway 72 in Athens or Max Luther Drive in Huntsville.
SportsMed is the official team physicians of the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And if the pros trust SportsMed, you can too. SportsMed provides every service you might need for complete orthopedic care, specializing in orthopedic surgery, sports medicine, joint replacement, spine surgery, neurosurgery, and podiatry. And they offer their own brace shop, in-house full-body MRI, physical therapy, walk-in clinic, and so much more. 4 locations and on the web at sportsmedalabama.com. When you call most roofing companies, all you'll hear is, you need a new roof. Not when you call Fleming. At Fleming Roofing and Restoration, we're focused on your needs, whether it's an easy repair or a full roof replacement. Folks around here have trusted Fleming since 1965 for all their residential and commercial roofing needs. And as the area's storm damage experts, Fleming knows all the ins and outs of the insurance claims process. Log on FlemingHSV.com to schedule your free estimate today. Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
We cover all the SEC schools, including Western Union and Venmo.
I want that money!
You know, 97.7 ESPN The Zone. It's time for tomorrow's headlines today with Scott Tyson and Drew DeArmond on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
No shortage of headlines today to get to here in our tomorrow's headlines today. First and foremost, though, I want to invite everybody to watch NBC tonight because the U.S. Olympic swimming trials will take place. And for the first time since 2004, 2008, Huntsville-Madison County
will be represented.
Could have a chance, a very, very, very good chance of a swimmer making it to the Olympics, to the point where Zach Harding, the former Bob Jones, or the Bob Jones grad, not former Bob Jones, the Bob Jones grad, Louisville graduate, will come into the finals of the 200-meter butterfly tonight, ranked number 1. He made it through the semifinals last night with the fastest time, tied for the fastest time going into tonight's finals. All Zach has to do is touch the wall first again tonight, and he will, for the first time since Margaret Holzer represented Huntsville in the Olympics in 2004, 2008. Now, she won 3 medals, and she did that in 2008 in Beijing. But Zach Harding, the Bob Jones high grad, is going in tonight. He'll be in either lane 4 or 5 going into that. It'll be on NBC tonight, but you can watch that And that could be that's pretty big for our area. And then you throw in the fact that coming up a little bit later, probably another month, the USA will have their track and field qualifying. And Javon Harrison from Columbia High School, who is the top high jumper in the world, is a favorite to win a medal at the Olympics, a favorite to make the team. Huntsville could have not one, but 2 athletes heading to the Olympics
Huntsville's
this summer.
Madison County.
Yep. So that is tonight. The swim trials are tonight in guess where? Omaha. Managed to work that back
Omaha
conversation. But Zach Harding, best of luck to him tonight. He'll be competing there in Omaha with a fantastic shot of making the Olympic team for Team USA. The other big news happening just a short time ago, and that is if you follow the NBA, Chris Paul has been placed into the health and safety protocols of the NBA for COVID-19. His status for the Western Conference Finals is still up in the air. It depends on medical circumstances and isolation period. It could be shorter for a vaccinated individual. The NBA has yet to release the schedule for the conference finals. A potential Game 7 for the Jazz Clippers could be played on Sunday. All Chris Paul is doing is averaging 15.7 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds per game in his 10 Suns playoffs games.
And he's 36 years old.
Yeah.
So as much as I can't stand the NBA, got to give a lot of credit to Chris Paul for, the level he's playing. I mean, he's just been ageless. And if the Suns reach the finals, it would be the first time since Charles Barkley, Kevin Johnson, Dan Marley, and those guys. And what a story it would be with DeAndre Ayton and Devin Booker and Chris Paul, and it would kind of validate his career. I hope he can make it back, but there could be a series-shifting injury in that series, Scott.
And Major League Baseball has a problem.
And remember the injury, though. We didn't talk about that. That's Kawhi Leonard.
I forgot about that one, yes.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Could be a series-shifting injury there. Kawhi Leonard out for Game 5 with a knee injury and could miss the remainder of that series. So could even with Chris Paul being in the protocols right now, the loss of Kawhi Leonard would be a death blow, you would think, to the Clippers' playoff chances.
Major League Baseball has a problem, and that is they are going to start cracking down on pitchers using sticky stuff on their baseballs. A 10-game suspension for any pitcher now caught using a foreign substance on a baseball. And that is something they are dealing with. Some players are coming out saying, well, Major League Baseball created this. Now they're saying you can't wear the sunscreen out there. And players are saying it's going to cause injuries because they can't grip the baseball if they don't have like a sticky substance on the baseball. And Charles Barkley gave Major League Baseball a shout-out last night on cracking down on pitchers using the foreign substance.
I just want to give a shout out to Major League Baseball. I saw y'all new thing where if y'all catch pitchers cheating, you're going to suspend them from 10 days with pay. Way to stick it to those cheaters. And they get a private jet, right? Ooh, I mean, that is some harsh damn punishment. What is it, 10 days, they're going to get suspended 10 days with pay.
10 days with pay.
That is stupid, though. If you're going to get suspended with 10, you just send them on vacation, for crying out loud. At least dock them some pay. Good Lord.
It's been a conversation in Major League Baseball. Pitchers using sticky stuff on baseballs.
It's happened for years, for crying out loud. Good grief. Just like Albert Bell with his loaded bat.
Oh, Sammy Sosa with the corked bat.
Yeah, that too. Super balls flying everywhere.
Oh, but
I don't know what
Charles
Sammy
Barkley
didn't use. You know what I'm saying? I mean, good grief.
But leave it to Charles Barkley to give Major League Baseball its props.
Well, my ears finally stopped bleeding.
Well, if we had time to recover, Jeff got us in the first hour.
But we were salvaged by our other great callers, and then Josh Pate and Rodney Orr. We really appreciate that. Thank you for everyone for listening and supporting our show. We allow people to voice their opinions, even if
they're dumb.
Yeah, I guess that's the best way to put it. If you want to finish the season there. And remember, as Scott said, be aware tonight on NBC. Yep. We could have some history for Madison County.
Yep, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Hopefully, that's going to do it for our 2 hours, guys. Hummus and Pita Company on Zone Deal. Get it before it's gone.
The Czar coming up from 10 to noon, and we're going to talk some golf with Charlie Plott tomorrow.
If you're ready to lower your utility bills, it's time to call Eagle Insulation. Eagle can handle it all. Attic re-insulation, insulation removal, wall insulation, and new construction insulation, commercial and residential. Our primary goal is to save you money, and lots of it. Typical clients realize their return on investment within 3 to 6 months. That means the re-insulation actually pays for itself and then some. See if we can help you. Contact Eagle Insulation today, 256-755-1556, or log on insulatewitheagle.com.
Tom Luganbill here for Woody Anderson Ford. When I was in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things that impressed me the most was the quality of the people. People like Bobby White and his team at Woody Anderson Ford. And now you can experience the tremendous new service lanes and showroom at Woody Anderson Ford at Jordan and Sparkman, or just stop by for breakfast or lunch at Henry's Mustang Cafe. And in Madison, visit Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, just south of 72. Like a great college football